Is Kirby's Dream Land 3 the kind of game you would look at and think, yeah, I'd speedrun that? You'd think not, since it's got a reputation for being really slow. Like, look at Kirby's walk speed in this game. I mean, yeah, I'll speedrun this. I bet any percent only takes a decade. I'm a very forward-thinking pup. I gotta make it to the next decade and all that. Think of all the insane videos that I'll have on the channel by then. Watch it just be this exact same video, just uploaded 10 years from now or something like that. I'll be done with KDL 3 by March 20th, 2034, everyone. Believe it or not, though, Dreamland 3 actually has a lot going for it to make it a really fun speed game. Of the classic Kirby games, those found in the classic Kirby games run, and check out my video on that for more details. It is by far the least popular, but still, it has lots of neat tech in it that makes it stand out. Any percent, despite its length, is a relatively straightforward category that's easily accessible if you don't get along with your thumb. The flip side, of course, is the opposite. A category with so much depth, variety of gameplay, and intense showcase of skill, appealing to anyone wanting to push themselves in a fun, fair, and intensive, or fin-intensive, I guess, to keep that alliteration going, run of the ages. I am, of course, talking about 97%. What? You thought I was gonna say hundo? No. Nobody likes hundo. Are you crazy? Oh, no, you're not crazy. You're just not in the know. That's right. It's fine. It's okay. It makes sense. That's why I am here, to explain to you wonderful people the joys of Kirby speedrunning. Or the unjoys in this case, I guess. Before I go full Professor Puppy mode, though, please consider showing me more than 97% of your love by liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you enjoy it. If you'd like to go the extra mile, I also have a Patreon, linked in the description, with neat perks, including early access to future videos like this one. You also get to be called a pup train, which, I don't know, that sounds worth it to me. Special thanks to my head-patting Fluffle fan pup trends, Biohazard, Tyke, the Serval that likes strawberry Pop-Tarts, Lydia Scribe, Vilafar, and remember, Miss K says the 4 best game is super cool and awesome and stuff. I love you all. Before detailing what makes hundo, or 100%, such a pain, let's go over some bullet points first. Notably, what makes a 97%, or best ending, so much more fun. Any percent is easy enough to explain. It's simple, Ku is silly, and the band ending credits music is the best of the KDL 3 credits tracks. Boom, instant fun category. 97% though would obviously have a lot more going on. In order to get the best ending, you not only have to clear every level, but also get the heart star within every level. This is where a lot of the high execution comes in. I want this video to be more about the 100% exclusive stuff, rather than what makes 97% so great. That's gonna be its own video, but I've obviously gotta talk about it a little bit. I can't just say best ending rocks and then not say anything about it, you know? That would be, as the professionals say, a meanie pie move. The variety of insane strats required for best ending are what make it so much fun. The heart stars are mostly annoying when you don't know how to get them, so once you do, things become a lot less stressful. Take, for example, Grassland 6. In any percent, you keep Ku and Zoo, but in best ending, you use Rick. Sad to say, but for speedrunning, we do pick on Rick a lot, but wait a minute. Pick on Rick? Pickle on Rickle? Pickle Rick! We pick on him in most speedruns because he's not very good, sad to say, but Rick plus Stone has a fascinating bug in this game. Well, 2 bugs, I guess. For one, Rick Astley doesn't start singing whenever you do a Rick roll. That feels bad. But if you jump into a ceiling and press X and Y at the same time, these are the buttons that make you hop off of Rick and also initiate the Rick roll, Kirby will clip through the ceiling. You can actually use this to collect one of the 3 required collectibles for the Heart Star much faster. Or you can get even more than just the 1 if you're using GUI. GUI, of course, is an optional yet crucial piece of the puzzle. Dreamland 3 is a game with co-op, and while you're not going to see rubber bands very much, this is, of all things, a Return to Dreamland reference. Here's another video to watch for context. The multiplayer strats can get crazy. The depth that Kirby's Dreamland 3 is given thanks to nutty strats like this all comes together to make one of the most entertaining, varied, and most importantly, fun runs of the series. So why the actual hundo 100%? It's so bad. Why is the final 3% such a turnoff for most runners? This isn't me trying to push my own puppy perspective either. Being honest, I don't hate full 100% much, but one peek at the leaderboards for this game on speedrun.com paint a fascinating yet potentially confusing picture. Any percent, always the most popular and accessible, has 38 runs. I really need to get around to submitting my own runs of this game someday, but regardless, 38 is a solid number of runs. Shifting to best ending, or 97%, the numbers dwindle a bit to 22. Still not bad, especially taking length of the run into account, but unlike the other categories for this game, 2-player isn't just a filter, it's a whole other category. That should already be pretty telling with this not being the case for Hundo, but 2-player adds another 6 runs, upping the total to 28. It's still not the 38 that any percent has, but really solid overall. Then we move to Hundo and see that there are a grand total of 6 runs. Yikes! So, for the zillionth time, what makes Hundo so bad when 97% is so good? The answer is simple and hilariously obvious, the additional 3%. For best ending, you get all of the heart shards, beat the secret final boss, who I won't spoil, stop your timer, and enjoy the cute credits. Hundo is doing all of that, but with the additional post-game content on top of it. All 3 of these modes are varying levels of frustrating, each for different reasons. Thankfully, it mostly doesn't matter what order you do them in, so we'll go over each. Starting with MG5, as perfect clearing this unlocks something else you need to finish. This one is the least brutal of the 3, if you're good at the minigames. In the interest of fairness, if you're running Hundo, you should be good at them, but there are a few RNG elements that make it particularly frustrating. Namely, in the 3rd and 4th minigame, counting Gordos takes a long time. So if you have a high number, the game's gotta go, oh, you got 6 Gordos? Okay. 1, 2, 3, instead of just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The same 3rd and 4th ones are also just horrendous for the colorblind, as the 4th is all about determining color with no alternative. At the very least, they don't combine red and green, and as I've heard, the red, blue, and yellow color trio they went with is a pretty decent selection, but still. The 3rd one also just blows even if you aren't, since the background was changed to be super dark, which makes the Gordos blend in. The 5th minigame, the Kawasaki Sound one, is hard for just about everybody, and if you fail that one, you need to play all 4 of the minigames again. You could say the same for the 3rd and 4th, just having to do the first 2 or 3 instead of all 4, and that's why Kawasaki is the worst, but honestly, just having to do all of these from the beginning, regardless of how far you get, pretty rough. We'll talk about why this is especially horrendous a little later, but for now, let's end it here by saying the minigames, in theory, aren't too bad, but are the most punishing for making a single mistake. Getting a perfect score in MG5 unlocks jumping. Oh, so when Kirby jumps, it's this big thing for getting to 100%, but when I jump, I get told I'm a bad dog and not to knock anyone over? Life's not fair sometimes. Anyway, the jumping minigame is super simple, and the goal is equally so. Just jump 10 times, land on these happy faces, don't land on the angry needle spike enemy, and you're good. Surely this can't be the worst part of the run, right? Well, just saying, could, maybe it's possible. God, this looks so easy. Why is it so hard? Okay, it may not be the absolute worst part of the run, but it certainly is one of the worst parts. Despite the easy start, this quickly escalates to brutal territory when more and more needle enemies start showing up. This could be a brilliant commentary on how doing something for long periods of time increases the odds of making you unhappy. Or it could just be terrifying that once you get to the 7th or 8th jump, you only have one happy face left. Unlike MG5 and Boss Glitch, which we'll be covering soon, this doesn't take very long, so unless you're gunning for a world record, even in a speedrun, you can afford to mess up once or twice. But most people, even speedrunners, have a good chance to anyways, and jumping is just like that. Also, unlike the other 2 post-game modes, the placement of the smiles and needles may be random, but Kirby's jump distance is never reliant on RNG. Depending on Kirby's pose, they'll jump a set distance, so it's solely a matter of not messing up your timing. And it's very, very stressful for the obvious reason of having to be perfect in those last few jumps, but also for another reason we'll be talking about later on. Again, I'm so suspenseful and mysterious. Lastly, we have Boss Push, which is just boss endurance. Like most older Kirby games, you don't get to pick an ability for this one, so no coup plus cleaning cheese like in the other categories. It definitely takes a lot of the fun out of it, and unlike the other modes, that's about all I have to add. The KDL3 bosses are a decent challenge with no ability or buddy, but unlike MG5, there's very little in the way of RNG. Oh, there's millions of possibilities for losing time thanks to RNG, which is very frustrating, but in terms of difficulty variance, and most importantly, risk of dying, definitely less than the other modes. With the side note of this being the longest of the three by far, you die once, even outside of that good old world record grind, your run is mush. And what makes this so awful, and this can be said for all three of these modes, is that all of this happens after clearing the game. KDL3 best ending as it stands is not a short run. On average for single player, even with GUI, I'd probably assume it's around 100 minutes, over an hour and a half. This additional 3% doesn't add much time to the run, 10 to 20 minutes is what we're looking at here, but every single one of these added modes has the potential to absolutely end a run. Imagine spending an hour and a half on something, having the time of your life, then having to do 3% of the game and having it all ruined. Heck, forget having it ruined. That potential for it to be ruined is always there, even from the very beginning. Nerves are a very real human thing to have to worry about when you're speedrunning, and this here, no exception. You lost the run to a mistake at MG5. But hey, there's always next time, right? Uh-oh, got stuck for too long in jumping? Well, there's always next time. A boss push went well, but dead in it won't stop going blah, 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 blah in phase 2, so you lost your PB? Oh, well, I may have lost my PB, but there is always next time! But the final nail in the coffin, the one reason that kills this category, even more than the mountain of completely valid reasons that I've already mentioned, it is 3%, the part that just makes the 97% not worth it. Why bother? 97% or best ending, it's right there. And like I said, people genuinely enjoy running that category, myself included. It's so much fun and really showcases what makes Kirby Stream Land 3 a 1 in a million kind of game that is fantastic. It's so much more than just coup or having to move slowly or whatever. I'd much rather run that and have an amazing experience than run Hundo and have to worry the whole time that if my jumps are gonna be good or if I'm gonna get called a bad dog again and get put back in the cage. It's just a funny joke, get it? Anyway, if I'm gonna be honest, this is actually a very rare case of speedrunning L's being tossed out. All three of the 3% required modes I find lots of enjoyment of in a casual setting, especially when it comes to finding ways to cheese them. I'll have to share my VHS strats and MG5 for another day, but regardless, I find a lot of fun in these. Trying to go fast in them, not so much. But that's just one pup's opinion. Well, it's a lot of runners' opinions, I guess, but I want to hear yours. What do you think about 97% or best ending versus Hundo? What's your favorite post-game mode? You want to hear more about what makes best ending so much fun? Let me know in the comments. And until I see you all again, I've been Klaire. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you around. Bye-bye!